Got market open. Palantir with a big push up, but already selling off there. AMD rejecting pre-market high. Apple's the only one that's holding. If we can get a red to green flip here in Apple to break a pre-market high, I'd be interested in taking a trade there. Palantir looks promising as well. Tesla bouncing previous day low. Palantir missed it. Should have taken it down here. I'll need a retest if I'm going to take that. Don't want to trade Tesla today. There's earnings later this afternoon. Palantir with a strong rejection still. See how QQQ is doing. QQQ strong rejection of pre-market high and previous day high. Not really looking for downside until we get closer to pre-market low. Six. Apple still looks the strongest. And AMD. I've got a break of pre-market high for AMD on my watch list as well. No, rejecting pre-market high still. Market is looking relatively weak. low volume. QQQ, we're only under a mil in volume. Usually the first 5 minutes I see it 2 mil, closer to 2 mil is a decent candle. We are in all-time high territory as well for QQQ. Palantir is trying to get back above its pre-market high in opening room print. Okay, we broke above pre-market high for Palantir. Looking for a retest around pre-market high area for entry. We've got previous point of control at 148. I like Palantir the most, but I need a retest. I'm looking to see here if we reject high of day, come back and retest for pre-market high for the next leg up. We do have point of control is above previous point of control, so we are making newer highs on the point of control. Got about 30 seconds left for this candle close on this 5 minute. Palantir does look like it's having a strong candle close, but can't chase it this high. It's a strong, aggressive buying candle. Nvidia is starting to look a little weak here as well, but we need QQQ in the market to follow suit if Nvidia is going to flush. Strong candle close on Palantir. Apple still appears to be setting up here. It's holding above pre-market low. Wants to break through pre-market high. Palantir, I still see a lot of bids coming through. And a lot hitting time and sales, so. Nvidia is trying to hold its previous day close. Apple is setting up for a pre-market high break right here. Broke through pre-market high. Going to attempt longs here on Apple. Instantly 8% drawdown. If it doesn't push through, I'm going to get stopped out. These contracts were too cheap that the fills were bad. Making a strong push now. Need a little bit more for my first trim. Alright, take my first trim. Wow, these contracts are... Stops at break even, one trim off. Need a strong continuation of Apple. Looking at 30% for my second trim. I already got one trim off at 15%. Stops are at break even. Might get stopped out. Yep, short-lived trade. Very short, barely anything. Do like Nvidia for the hold of previous day close for a bounce. But also fear it rejects pre-market low and it's setting up for a demand break and retest. We've got VWAP right here and the previous candle high. Apple's now setting up for a break and retest for pre-market high. Gonna pass on Apple. I don't want to take the same setup twice, essentially. But next time I need to wait for a retest. If opening breakout's only good market open, we're already 15 minutes into market open. At that point, it's better to wait for a break and retest. And there she goes. Apple with a clean break and retest just got stopped out at entry. Extremely frustrating. Had the right direction of breaking out of the pre-market range. Now contracts are up almost 40-50%. Would have taken 3 trims off. Palantir also no retest yet. AMD setting up for a pre-market low, break and retest to the downside. Tesla with a clean bottom of range, previous day low bounce again. I'm starting to see that a lot. Liquidity sweep down to previous day low or the bottom of this range, bounce. QQQ and SPY are flat, just sitting at opening print. Nvidia rejecting pre-market low in VWAP. QQQ is also rejecting previous day high in opening print. Apple's the only one that's diverging from the market. Apple with a pre-market low bounce as well. Yep, AMD with a clean break and retest of pre-market low to the downside. Palantir, I'm still interested if it can retest and hold Palantir and act as support, or pre-market high. Palantir can hold that as support. I do like the weakness in Nvidia, but yesterday I got faked out, so I'm hesitant to take this trade unless we truly break out of this range. We are bouncing VWAP. Gonna wait until this 5-minute candle closes. But it is bouncing VWAP nicely. QQQ and SPY have just been consolidating. AMD did have a setup for a previous day high bounce. However, I fear we have a pre-market low break and retest setup as well. We got about a minute left. See a lot of sell orders hitting the ask here on Palantir. Oh, that's Nvidia. We got some buy orders hitting the bid. Strong aggressive bounce here. Still got 40 seconds left on this candle. Tesla with a strong rejection of pre-market high, retest VWAP and bounce and break through pre-market high. I do like this bounce on Palantir, but may have missed it. Apple is setting up again for a retest. AMD, we are trying to hold above previous day high. Nvidia's looking weak. Tesla retesting pre-market high right now. Yeah, market's not really doing much. SPY's just consolidating right at opening print. QQQs were about to come back up to opening print. Yeah, the whole market's flat. Only ones with strength is Palantir, but didn't get a deep enough pullback for a retest entry. Had the potential of this one here, VWAP bounce right above pre-market high. However, I waited for the 5-minute candle close, and that's what happens if I wait for a 5-minute candle close. You know, I am interested in the previous day high bounce on AMD. However, I want to see how price reacts at pre-market low if we can reclaim it. Otherwise, I fear that we might reject it. We've got pre-market low and VWAP right there and reject it and make lower lows. SPY is starting to wake up. SPY is breaking out of its pre-market high range. QQQ is attempting to follow. Tesla setting up for a pre-market high break and retest. Honestly, Tesla looks the cleanest. AMD starting to recover. I do like AMD. Taking it here. Early entry for pre-market low reclaim, holding previous day high bounce. Doing it with also the market waking up. QQQ starting to break out of its pre-market high range. Tesla is holding that pre-market high. AMD needs to push past pre-market low though with strength. If it rejects it, then it's probably going to be a losing trade. Rejecting it already. Yep, that's what I was exactly afraid of. Rejecting pre-market low. Should have waited for an entry for the reject. See, Apple was the cleaner break and retest. Retest pre-market high to the T. I might get stopped at AMD here soon. Waited too long for this previous day high bounce. I should have made a decision right here. Pre-market low, break and retest to the downside. That's what AMD was setting up for. Good news, good sign is it is bouncing previous point of control. Just needs to hold above it and break back above pre-market low. Apple's looking strong. QQQ Inspire rejecting pre-market high. And AMD is also following suit. Market's looking weak. Nvidia keeps selling off. We need to push past this previous point of control and break above and close above pre-market low and VWAP. Palantir with another VWAP retest bounce. Apple's looking clean. AMD rejecting VWAP and pre-market low. Apple should have been more patient and just waited for a break and retest setup. Palantir is starting to break out a previous day high. This bounce here would have been perfect. VWAP, even though VWAP was right above pre-market high, that could have been a good indicator there. Didn't have to wait for it to go all the way down to pre-market high on Palantir. Missed trade, missed opportunity. AMD did make a point of control higher than the previous point of control. However, it's right at pre-market low. We need to push past it. Above pre-market low, but we're rejecting VWAP on AMD. Wow. Apple break and retest at pre-market high was the move. That is a plus setup that I missed due to taking a Apple pre-market high breakout instead. Should have just done the retest. AMD is starting to break above VWAP. However, these contracts aren't really moving that well. Palantir busting through previous day high. Apple, no pullback. Look at that. Once we got out of that range of pre-market high, clean move to the upside. About 2.5 minutes left on this 5-minute candle. Love to see AMD close above pre-market low and VWAP and above this previous candle for upward continuation. That would be a good sign. Wow, look at Palantir go. Sitting only about 5% in profit on AMD. Need to hit 15% for my first trim. Wow. AMD or Apple and Palantir, the one I was both heavily biased towards, just hesitated on entries due to fear. Same with AMD previous day high. AMD previous day high bounce. I got way too late of an entry. If I entered down here, down right at previous day high, most likely I would have had 2 trims off by now, but not half my position. Would have been probably 30% in profit. Good 5-minute candle close above pre-market low, VWAP, and this candle high here. So 8% in profit. AMD is showing strength, approaching opening print. Only sitting about 11% profit. Need a few more. Need 15% for my first trim for that 1R. QQQ broke out of its pre-market high range spies and broke out of its pre-market high range. So QQQ is making new all-time highs. AMD is still only 12% in profit. These contracts are not moving that well. %, 15%. All right, taking my first trim here. Putting stops at break even. Stops are at break even at $6. Strong push above opening print. 20% profit. Looking at 30% or 2R for my next trim. Currently sitting at 18%. %. Contracts I have are 290. Price is currently at 291, so my contracts are in the money. They should start to move a little bit better now. We are rejecting opening print. Naturally, we're going to see some rejection there, profit taking, but market's still looking strong. QQQ is still pushing through. Nvidia is holding previous day close. See, good hold off on the downside trade. QQQ is still too strong. Didn't think Nvidia was going to flush through. Avoided that mistake yesterday. Wow, Apple and Palantir are just beautiful. Yep. Those are ape. Apple pre-market high break and retest. That is A plus right there. A plus right here. I need to go back and I need to screenshot this as part of A plus setup. A plus entry as well. Cleanest hold of pre-market high. Alright, AMD, we are pushing above opening print and the previous candle high. We have a new point of control. That's good. We're sitting about 23% in profit. 24, looking to get to 30% for my next trim, which would be around pre-market high and high of day. I may look to take an earlier trim, anticipating a rejection and pullback. And we might be getting it early already. I'd like to see a push with strength. I want to trim it going into it with strength. Palantir and AMD, or Palantir and Apple just making a run. All right, 26%. 27. I'm going to take a little early trim just because we have pre-market high and high of day right there. I want to secure some profits versus it rejecting and flushing all the way back to my break even and stopping me out of the trade. So 2 trims off, Over half my position has been trimmed. Stops are still at break even. Next trim I'm looking at is 50%, which is a little bit above a 3R. Look at that, now we're at 30%. Got too scared, but thesis was right. Didn't want to risk. The reason I trimmed a little bit earlier, didn't want to risk an additional, didn't want to potentially risk 30%, 27% of my profit getting stopped out of break even just to get to additional 3% to get to 30% for my trim. So happy with it, um, especially the way that I almost got stopped out of the trade. Got 10% drawdown. I think 10% stop loss is too tight for me. 15% is the sweet spot for stop loss. So if we can break and hold above pre-market high, I think we've got strong continuation unless the market just ends up flushing later. But we are, yeah, we broke above some heavy resistance levels. Sitting at 36% in profit. Looking for, like I said, 50% for my next trim. %, looking for an additional 10% more. This was a beautiful previous day high bounce as well. I just didn't trust my instincts and hesitated and delayed my entry. I think this would have been an almost close to 100% trade. Strong rejection at pre-market high here. Strong 5-minute candle close, but if we can get this 5-minute candle to close above pre-market high, it'd be great. Looks like we got a second left. Close right above pre-market high, so that's good. We broke above previous candle high. Need some more strength. Volume has been upticking. This is the highest volume we had the previous 5-minute candle, 800,000. We had 700,000 down here at the previous day high bounce. Low volume as we got above pre-market low. As we got above pre-market low, volume started to increase. So that's a good sign for continuation to the uptrend. 44% profit. Looking to take my next trim here at around 50%. All right, taking my next trim, 51%. Down to a quarter of my position. Originally had 16 contracts, took 3 trims off already. Oh wow, we're just having strong momentum here. I'm still going to keep my stop loss at break even. Let this trade run out. play out. I'm looking for my next trim at 100%, and then once I get to my 100% mark, I'm going to do a 50% trailing for my 10% of my remaining position. So once we get to 100%, I'm going to trim another half, and then just down to baby runners. I can't get. So stops are a little bit above break even, 605. That'll help prevent slippage, and plus I can't navigate my mouse, so I'll just leave it at that. Currently sitting at 66% in profit. Strong break now. AMD's looking beautiful now. Yep, look at that. Nvidia bouncing previous day low. Aggressive bounce. I need to start looking for previous day low bounces. We had a previous day low bounce Nvidia today, previous day low bounce at Tesla today. Currently sitting at 70% in profit on these AMD contracts. Contemplating if I want to wait till 100% trim or just keep these stop losses tight at maybe pre-market high or 50% profit. I do have to go to work here in 30 minutes, so I need to start getting ready in the next 10 minutes. So I'll see how price plays out in the next 10 minutes. If if price isn't showing continuation to the upside, then I might just close out my position. We are breaking back below our previous point of control. So if we flush and hold sell off below that, we could start rejecting here. But if we can hold above it, then we still have strong potential for the upside. Actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take another trim at 2%, or half my quarter position. So now I'm last to my 10% of runners, and I am just going to trail this by 50%, which would be essentially break you. Actually, we'll go 20%. I'll do a 20% trailing drawdown because then it'll be about 35%, which would still close me out at a 2R on my this baby runner. Um, I believe I have trailing. Is that trailing? Oh, I don't think that's a trailing. Sorry, Webull just recently introduced trailing. Oh, closed by a stop trail. There we go. This is the trailing one. So trailing, I would like to go by percentage, and we will go by 20%, which would be around 30% as my stop loss. So I've got 20% trailing stop loss order in. Curling will stop me out 735. Alright, I'm gonna stop this recording. I'm just gonna let my stop get hit or let it trail 20% all day. So, good trading day.